Do your homework up front. Don't build, don't try and build a parachute after you jump out of the plane.
Welcome to Alt Investing Made Easy, where we explore the complex world of alternative assets. I'm Roland, a securities attorney, investment advisor, and your co-host.
And I'm Sarah, an investment advisor and corporate attorney, and your other co-host. We'll guide you through real estate, private equity, and more, making complex topics accessible.
Tune in for insights that empower your financial journey.
Let's make alt investing easy, one episode at a time.
Welcome, everyone, to Alt Investing Made Easy. Today, we're pleased to be here with our friend Charles Heinzelman. He's here to talk to us about premium finance and other matters. Welcome, Charles.
Oh, thank you, Sarah. Roland, glad to be here.
Hey, Charles, thanks so much for being with us. And to start out, let's start talking about you and finding out about your background. And as we were discussing, if somebody goes to your LinkedIn profile, they'll see first, I know the acronym it's networking and action, but next is C4 Financial Partners. This is a company that you founded. You serve as the CEO of this company, and you've been there 16 years. So maybe tell us a little bit about your business first.
Sure, absolutely. I'll start with the C4 Financial Partners there. It's an offshoot. I used to be in charge of compliance over at Transamerica, and they, of course, wanted us to have boots on the ground and sell. So I enjoyed that and did that a little bit. And then when I left the compliance world, I fully went into private practice, if you will. And we focused on middle America and high net worth clients, looking at helping them grow their assets in tax favored situations.
Okay, and maybe that leads us into the thing that Sarah had mentioned about the premium finance, and we hadn't really gotten into that yet on Alt Investing Made Easy, but this is something that when we talked previously, I know that money is not your focus, but the question I ask you is, well, what's a good day for you? And you said specifically, well, a new premium finance client would be great. So maybe tell us what premium finance is, and
Okay.
I have a vague notion of it, in relation to cash value life insurance, but
Right.
you're an expert. So if you could fill us in on that, I think that would be really interesting for our audience.
Okay, terrific. I'd love to. The simplest way I put it is I use a lot of analogies when I teach, educate individuals in this arena here. And most of us are familiar with financing a vehicle, or financing a home. Most people don't pay cash for their home, they finance it through the bank. Same kind of principle right there. We are just financing your retirement using a bank, which you're already accustomed to doing with your auto loans, your home loans, things like that, to help create leverage and a little bit of an arbitrage in the back end there. And that's the highest level, 70, 80,000 foot view. And then we can always dive deeper from that aspect right there. But just it's tough for people to really wrap their head around that because they don't think about having the ability to truly finance their retirement, not using just their own money.
But it's using life insurance, right?
Correct. Yeah, you're using life insurance, and you're doing that for a couple of reasons. Really, three I can think of, and that's usually taking a step back first. Premium finance is not for everybody. It's not. This is not going to be for mom and pops out there, your typical neighbors and things like that. This is typically going to be with high net worth individuals. They have to make a minimum of 250,000 for 2 straight years, preferably more than that. Minimum net worth of $5 million over age 50. We can go down to 2.5 if it's under age 50, but we prefer to have a lot of net worth in there as well. Why? Because we have to get these loans underwritten by the bank, and that's what the banks look at right there. So it's not for everybody, starting off first and foremost. But what we do is we're using a life insurance, a participating whole life, actually. I know Index Universal Life seem to be the hot new product out there, and there's always going to be a hot new product, but that's the hot new product out there. That's not what we use. We use strictly participating whole life because you've got some guarantees in there. And especially if you've got a loan with the bank, having those guarantees is going to be extremely important. Another reason we use insurance there is because we can use it for estate planning. Usually high net worth individuals have needs for estate planning. No matter what the big beautiful bill says, it always seems to be, changes in the future with as far as estate planning goes. Then it also helps with tax planning because it can help on a micro and a macro basis. You can plan for it in the future because your assets grow tax deferred, and you can also have tax advantage liquidity. But also, because you're making interest payments to the bank to finance your retirement, you can write off those interest payments that you're paying to the bank on your taxes now, so you get some tax availability write-offs right there. And most importantly, you're able to grow your assets into the future, not just using your own assets, but bank assets as well.
I think that there was recently some news about this, and I didn't have a chance to read the articles, but I was told by several different people that about what I think is called premium finance. And yes, it's, sounds like it's available to high net worth individuals, but there's something, I think more people are in that category by the time they're of a certain age these days, and certainly amongst the people in our audience. And so this is actually, it's important, I think, to understand that these types of structures are available, because essentially it sounds like you have loan financing available that then mitigates your income, the level of your income is what I'm understanding.
To a degree, yeah.
Which then impacts, obviously, your tax situation.
Correct.
And so it's interesting because as we're all learning, it's hard to stay on top of, even when you're a professional who works in finance, it's hard to stay on top of all the things that are available when it comes to tax planning. And I'll be specific about tax planning and not any other words that are out there. There's a scale. I think tax efficiency planning is on the legitimate side of things. And then but I am glad that when we get the opportunity, Charles, to share some of these structures that are used by people, because the whole point of Alt Investing Made Easy is to try to help people understand some of these structures, some of these things that you get to start thinking about as you build your wealth. Because a lot of people who are in the private securities space that are not big institutional investors or big private equity companies are actually on a personal wealth building journey. And it's good for them to know that once you reach a certain amount, then it is worth it, for example, to pay for advisors who can help you with some of these solutions that are maybe not immediately apparent from just going about your daily life. This is what I think I'm understanding. So
absolutely. Yeah, I mean, again, like I say before, and this is probably my compliance hat more than anything else, is, it's not for everybody, right? There's minimum barriers to entry kind of thing. But once you hit that, then the doors open up to this or a lot of different types of investments, especially, example, accredited investors, that's a barrier you have out there as well. So it's nice to have these opportunities, learn about them, and see if it's right for you. I mean, it's not going to be a great fit for everybody, but for those it is a good fit for, it does a lot of different things that you want to have happen, especially when you're planning for your financial future.
Well,
that's great. Well, yeah, it's good to find out about that. And maybe next move on to tell us about network in action.
Okay. Yeah. Shift gears a little bit on that one right there. Network in action. When I left the corporate world, back when I was in the corporate world, networking was very structured, and that you would go to these conventions, corporate outings, conferences. Everyone would pull together. You'd have thousands of people all together there. You'd stay at the same place, usually some kind of a resort or mega hotel that has a conference structure inside of it. After you go to all these different meetings, breakouts, and things like that, where does everyone go afterwards? They typically head right to the bar. And so you go to the bar, you figure out who you're going to be taking to dinner, going to dinner with, and then from there, you go out to dinner and you start networking. That's when you start socializing and learning more about them. They learn more about you, and hopefully something comes from that. When you leave that corporate structure, you don't have those same opportunities. I mean, it's a little creepy if you're just hanging out at the hotel bar kind of thing. So what do? I was trying to learn how to network outside of the corporate world. I went to some different corporate networking opportunities out there. and I found them very lacking, especially if you do much more B2B than B2C. If you're working business to business versus business to client, it's a little different out there. And so I didn't see the opportunities out there that were really structured to drive revenue, potential referral partnerships to me and back towards them. So I came across an organization called Network in Action, and they did things a little bit differently. They were more technology based, which I enjoyed. And from there, they would bring in, a networking and a masterminding component. So you just don't have one person up there talking all the time. You have breakout sessions. You get to know the people that you're in the room with. So I said, that's great, but I like your structure. Can I add into it? Can I enhance it? And as long as you meet those bare minimums, then that's fine. So that's what we did is we brought it over here to Austin. There was no location out here in Austin. First thing I said is if I'm in Austin, I want to be in charge of all of Austin. I don't want someone else playing in my backyard kind of thing. And I did that and I enjoyed it. And then we started growing and then COVID happened. So where I think that would be a major struggle and belly to belly old style networking, it was an easy transition for us because we were a technology based organization anyway. We were able to pivot. I hate that word after COVID, but it's the only one I can think of anyway. And we were able to continue to grow and thrive. One of the things I enjoy most about Network in Action is you have the opportunity to learn about other people in that organization that do things different than you. So they bring a wealth of knowledge, you bring a wealth of knowledge, and you're able to share that knowledge without having to go through the learning experiences to acquire that knowledge. It's almost like a cheat code, if you will. And I just enjoy connecting people. And I'm a firm believer. There's a couple sayings that have always resonated well with me. And one is, and it goes back to the biblical aspect. It's an offshoot of iron sharpens iron. Is you are who you surround yourself with. And if you surround yourself with people who are going to help you challenge yourself and grow, that's what you're looking for. So I wanted to make sure I was putting the right people in the room. So I had some stringent criteria, almost like premium finance. There's minimum, barriers to entry kind of thing. We had those in place, and it's worked out well. I really enjoy connecting people. I think I get more enjoyment out of connecting people and at the end of the meetings, people saying, I really enjoyed that agenda you created. It really made me think. I've got something tangible I'm leaving a networking event with besides just a business card. So I enjoyed that. And I haven't really used it to feed my other business. I just use it to feed my soul, really, I think.
Well, I attended one of the events you invited me to, and you're a real natural, Charles. Like I think,
Well, thank you.
yeah, I think you have a lot of rapport with the people in your groups, and I think people really, what I could tell is that there's a lot of appreciation for that. So
It took a lot of experience and years to become a natural.
Mm.
A lot of learning curves involved in that as well. But I definitely appreciate that, Sarah.
Sure. Roland, did you have a question?
Oh no, I was letting you move forward.
Okay. So, Charles, actually, something that I kind of am just curious about.
Sure.
You used to be a compliance professional, and compliance is really critical, as we all know, when it comes to securities laws and the entire, the activities that are conducted by parties or people that are involved in the offering of securities who make their money off helping people raise capital and entire businesses that facilitate all of this, like broker dealers. So sorry to go backwards because we kind of, I could have talked about this at the beginning, but I do think it's really, you had quite a journey to becoming such an accomplished compliance professional. And if you could go back into that time and just remember a few issues, like what would you say are, if you're trying to explain to somebody why compliance is important, would you have anything just off the top of your head that's the main issue you had to deal with over and over again?
Oh, yes. Well, the main issue I dealt with over and over again, and it's more of a minor issue than anything else, is your emails. Corporate email is for corporates, and business with clientele. Your personal emails for personal matters. Make sure you always keep those separate. Don't send on your personal email any kind of activity that would involve a client. Even if you're sending a happy birthday email, send it through the corporate one, because that way you've got a paper trail. Paper trails are extremely important.
Yeah.
And hopefully everyone knows that already. Document, document, document. But I would say, in the vein of this and interesting things, I would say do your homework up front. Don't build, don't try and build a parachute after you jump out of the plane. It doesn't work out very well.
Yeah.
Definitely spend a little bit more time, energy, and effort getting the attorneys up front, having them sign off on everything. It's going to save you so much headache into the future. Because if you don't document, it can always come back to bite you. I remember, as much as you try and forget, and the past is good for a reference point, but not a place that you want to reside in. But 2007, 8, and 9,
Oh,
we had
yeah.
some bad times in the marketplace. And I was out in the Tampa area of Florida. That's back when I was in compliance out there. And I remember driving over a causeway, and there's a big billboard sign. And I knew this is when things were going to get really bad. The billboard said, "Have you lost money in the market? If so, call us."
Whoa.
And I said, "This is not going to be a good time." And it was prophetic that way, in that a lot of people lost money in the marketplace, and they want to hold somebody accountable. They knew there was risk involved, but you know, people want to hold people accountable for any kind of bad experience that they have. And so, the only thing that saves a lot of people was documentation and getting those signatures and the attorneys involved very early up front. So again, I would just say Abraham Lincoln had this saying: if I was going to chop wood for 8 hours, I would spend the first 7 sharpening my axe. Do that. Sharpen your axe before you ever, take that first swing with it.
Yeah.
And that's, you said
you don't want to be pulled into
Transamerica, right?
court, You don't want to be pulled into court, and you don't want to sit in front of, I was going to say the NESD, but I'm old school like that. You don't want to sit in front of FINRA. You definitely don't want to sit there in front of the SEC. So, yeah, do that.
You don't want that to be the memorable moment of your career.
No, you don't. I mean, I had to be sitting there before with some clients, some people that we supervised, and nothing happened. We had all our documentation there. Doesn't mean that you're not going to sweat it out. And I wasn't even I wasn't even the one they were questioning, but I was there because I was a compliance officer, and I was sweating for them. And you get nervous in that situation. It's just natural.
So Transamerica is the company that you were the compliance officer of. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
it used to be called InterSecurities Incorporated, and then owned by Aegon, and Aegon acquired Transamerica, brought them on board, and then since Transamerica had much more name recognition, they rebranded InterSecurities Incorporated to Transamerica Financial Advisors. But they did that right after I left.
So compliance is a investment advisor.
Correct. Yeah,
Okay.
I had all the licenses to supervise everybody. And I know Sarah and I talked about that
We
before.
talked about it in detail, Roland. Yeah, he went to law school, and then he took the bar in Ohio. And then you moved to Arizona.
Yeah.
Had to sit the bar there. And then you had to start taking all these securities exams.
Oh, yeah. And it wasn't because I didn't pass the bar. It's just they didn't offer reciprocity. And I didn't know that when I took my promotion and had to move over. I mean, I still would have done it because I wanted to get out of Ohio and all. But I mean, oh my gosh, it was.
That's a lot.
I did not. Yeah, I did not expect that there. And then, of course, you've got to do all your continuing educations for all your licenses as well.
Yeah,
so,
I know.
Yeah, it was a full-time job being a student.
Yeah, Roland, it was really interesting. Charles was like, and then I found out I had to sit the Series 66. And then it would have made sense to become a CPA, but from what I remember, that was just the end. No.
Yeah, I love learning, lifelong, student. And that's great because the world's always changing. Tax laws are always changing. Everything's changing. AI is out there as well. So it brings on things that you didn't need to worry about, as far as intellectual property and things like that 5 years ago. So I think you've got to constantly evolve, keep up with it, because as soon as you quit learning, you fall way behind. It's really tough to catch back up. So I don't mind that part of it. I will say though, there comes a point in time where you're just like, okay, I've learned, but I got to do, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
and I'm sure you guys appreciate that. You guys are, you're with your backgrounds and everything. It's just you constantly have to learn and keep on the
Yeah,
forefront.
I think that's a, more and more the case for pretty much anything you want to do. And I guess thankfully there's a lot of good information that's easily available now. So, well,
Absolutely.
listen, Charles, let's, we had talked about we already did talk about the networking, but what I
Yeah.
find really interesting, I mean, you were in a pure corporate life, it sounds like, which is, some people have that path, other people don't. Some people reject that path early on, other people
Mhm.
transition away from it, et cetera.
Yeah.
But underneath all of that, and then doing what you do, going into business with your partners, and now the really active work that you do in the networking,
Mhm.
underneath all of that, do you have like a personal motto or kind of a philosophy that keeps you going? You kind of referenced something earlier, but
Yeah, I have two that I really that have kind of I took two and I made them my own. If that works there.
hmm,
And one, it's an unknown author, but it's an English proverb, and it says, "Calm seas never made for a skillful sailor."
Hmm.
So you're going to go through some rough times to get good at what you do. So that's
mm,
kind of what I keep in mind is when I'm going through rough times. Things are difficult. There's challenges out there.
hmm,
Just take it as a learning experience. Use that, get better. And the other one is if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go with others.
hmm,
And that one really resonates with me there is because, it is that there's that old saying, it's lonely at the top.
hmm,
And and it's nice to want to bring other people along with you. And that just goes right back to my faith and my ethics. I'm a firm believer. Um, uh, and I think it's also important to help other people. A lot of people will say, I'm a good person. And, they'll say things like that. And I always ask them, well, what does that mean? Because I
yeah,
don't think people really think about that. And to me, what that means is helping other people. You're not really a good person at heart if it's all about you. Then it's a little bit more selfish. So helping other people, bringing them on board. So I kind of put that all together. And my own personal mantra is, top people, they find a way. You know, so
yeah,
we can find a way together. Let's go.
hmm,
That's really great. As a service professional, we always have to remind ourselves that we're serving our clients. We're
Yeah.
actually servants to them. And what do
Hmm.
servants do? But they help, assist. They take this secondary role and really, as a fiduciary, you have to
Yeah.
put your clients' interests ahead of your own personal interests. And
Hmm.
so really wrapping your mind around the things that you said, I think is tremendous and
Yeah.
really will help people do a better job in this industry.
Well, I appreciate that, Roland, and I definitely agree. I mean, I think you nailed it right there. Being a servant to other people. And whether you believe in karma or not, whether you believe, in your actions have consequences or not, I think that if you put other people first, you take care of them first and foremost, everything else always takes care of itself from there. And it comes back to you tenfold.
Yeah, all the clients that there are some times where we can't serve them, and
Hmm.
so we have to refer them out, find somebody else. And I
Hmm.
I really like being able to pass that along and being able to say honestly, yeah, this is not something that I should take on, even though
Yeah.
maybe I could pretend like I have that
mm,
expertise, or maybe rope somebody else in to help me. But it may be that the best course of action is to say no, go see Charles instead of paying me, and I can't help but think people will
Hmm.
be grateful for that and look at me as somebody. Well, I know Roland's got my best interest at heart,
Hmm.
and then maybe they'll come back later on with something that's completely in my wheelhouse. And but because I demonstrated integrity in that way, it just shows that I really do care about we've all got to make a living, right?
Yeah.
But we will really do ourselves a disservice if we don't take that posture with clients and really make sure that they know, hey, it's my obligation as an attorney to look after your best interest.
Hmm. Yeah. And it never hurts you to do the right thing. If the right thing is passing that client to somebody else because you can't do the job that they need done,
Mm-hmm.
that, like you just said, that's going to serve you much better short term and long term. Because if you try and force it, then there can be repercussions, and those may not be the ones that you want. And it's funny that you said that, because one of my best clients ever got was a referral from somebody that I passed on to somebody else because I couldn't do the job for them.
Oh, wow.
And they remember it, like you were saying, they remember that. They know that you had their best interest at heart, and they actually referred me to their mother. That's how much they valued it. Who just Her husband had just passed, going through this myriad of just, if you're a stay-at-home mom, unfortunately, you're not always involved in all the financial matters, and you don't know
Mm-hmm.
where everything is. And so just getting the clarity of that, and seeing where to go and what to do in the processes, to get through everything. And to me, that was a great testament that I did the right thing. And getting
Yeah.
that referral, it verified everything I did was the right thing to do. And honestly, it made me feel better than anything else. Like on a tough day, I've actually got this little notebook that looks just like this one right here, and I'll flip through it, and I've got all these client letters thanking me for things. And and we all have a bad day. You ask
Yeah.
me what's a good day for me, I can tell you. I can tell you also what's a bad day for me. And on those bad days, I like to pull that open and read through those and go, you know what? I did make a difference in there. I'm not here. Well, I was going to say I'm not here for a long time, and then of course you always want to follow it up with, but I'm here for a good time. But it's not. I'm not. It's not a George Strait thing here. But we're not here for a long time. But I think we truly are here to impact other people, and if you do so, that impact can be generational, and that's just a really, really good feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's really great. Sarah, what do you think?
Yeah, Charles, it's really been fun to get to know you, and thanks
Well,
for
thanks,
joining
Sarah.
us on this. It's so interesting to see, to me also, people, while we're on the attorney topic, a lot of people go to law school, become attorneys, maybe practice for a little while, do different things. And a lot of attorneys go on to do other things also after practicing law for X number of years, maybe not even very long.
Hmm.
And I do think that it's it's very cool to see the different ways that people can transform their careers. Lots of people transform their careers in lots of ways, not just attorneys. But
Absolutely.
but there is this natural sort of synergy with the technical requirements of getting through law school, going through the series of exams, and then putting
Hmm.
yourself into the finance field, because there's a similar way of thinking, arguably one might say, about it when you're a transactional attorney, especially. So it's
Yeah.
really nice to have. We do interview other attorneys on, particularly our colleagues, and we get to learn about a lot of different areas that we don't work in. But it's been very interesting to get to know you and how you've taken your journey at starting off as an attorney, continuing to be an attorney, but also moving forward into
Yeah.
different areas. So
Oh, well,
I've learned a lot. Thank
thank
you.
you. Yeah, again, as an attorney, you got to wear a lot of different hats, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you don't think about that when you're going to law school, but you end up wearing a lot of different hats. I just decided to change my hat collection every now and then, it's been very fruitful. I think you bring in knowledge that other people don't have. You're able to share that knowledge with them, and hopefully, make a positive impact.
Yeah. It's funny how I think that it's an ongoing theme we have with guests on our podcast. A lot of people really are positive, mission driven, wanting to help others, wanting to do things for other people, and it's very heartening to see that in as a common theme for people that are building wealth, who have a lot of wealth, and kind of know this. I think is part of the fabric of our economy and our society that doesn't get a lot of recognition necessarily.
Yeah,
So
good. I'm glad you're bringing that to light then.
yeah, thank you. All right, so shall we finish up?
Yeah, I think so. And Charles, thanks so much for being with us today.
Thanks, Roland. Thanks, Sarah. I appreciate it very much.
Sure. Thank you. And thanks to everyone for watching today. If you like this episode of Alt Investing Made Easy, please like and subscribe to our channel.
And remember, everyone, take aim with your alternative investing strategies.
See you next time.